Good morning, everybody, and welcome to One on One Live. Yes, we are at it again, and today we've got a good one. We've got two FLW champions, Andrew Upshaw and Bradley Hallman, going to go at it on maybe a little tricky Grand Lake. We'll wait and see. We have had, folks, a ton of rain here in Oklahoma, and Grand Lake is one of the few lakes in the state that you can actually get a boat on. Yes, there are some smaller lakes, but we made the decision that we're going to go back to Grand Lake. Now, a key factor is they're going to be limited to fish in a specific area. That area today that these two guys are going to be competing in is basically the Wolf Creek area all the way down to Shangri-La. So for those that are unfamiliar with Grand Lake, it's basically the mid-lake area. Here's the situation. It's about 5 feet up. The water is high. The water's in the willows. You can see maybe 6 inches, maybe in some areas, all the way up to 8-10 inches. It should be a prime day for flipping. The wind is light, the sun is out, and we fully expect to have an outstanding day between these two guys. All right, let me set it up for you. They're going to have two 90-minute periods. And they're going to have a very, very short break in between to collect their thoughts. They can make a move. They can't fish during the break, but we'll see what happens. It is total fish. The total fish, total weight, that's going to determine the winner. There is a 1 pound minimum. All right, so when Mr. Upshaw catches one or Mr. Hallman, they zero the scale out. They verify that the scale is at 0, and then they will weigh the fish, point the weight at the camera, and then the official in the boat, who is also the cameraman, will call out the weight, and then we go 2 90-minute halves, and we're going to see which FLW champion is going to be champion for one-on-one live right here on Grand Lake. So we're going to take a short break, come back, get a summary from Mr. Bradley Hallman first, and then go to Andrew Upshaw, and then we will get this thing underway. So everybody stay tuned. Just about 30 seconds, and we're going to go to Brad Hallman.
Here we are on probably my most favorite lake in the entire country, Grand Lake of the Cherokees. Per usual, we're fishing in extreme conditions. It seems like it happens to all of us every time we try to go fishing in the springtime. The lake's at 750, which is 8 feet above normal pool. It's been rising at just about a foot a day over the last few days. The lake still hasn't crested. It's still on the rise. It's going to create a lot of problems and issues that we're normally not presented with this much water. I have run down to the very far end of our limit zone of what we're allowed to fish. I'm sitting right in front of Shangri-La right now, and I'm going to start the day with just some riprap and some rock and some places that just allow me to access the bank. Just because the water's so high in a lot of the flat places, the water's going to go so far back into the trees and the bushes that it's just limitless of, it's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. I'm sure Andrew's we talked about it a little bit this morning. We've got a little bit different philosophies on how we're approaching today. I think he's kind of staying put in that Wolf Creek area, and he's going to keep his trolling motor down and fish. And I'm going to try to bounce a bunch of places this morning and just try to get a feel for where I can and can't get bit. And I'm sure at some point through the day, towards the end of the day, we'll probably end up in some willow trees and bushes flipping, which is my very favorite way to fish this lake this time of year. But 8 foot of water is a lot of water. We prefer it probably around 745, 746, which is 3 to 4 foot high. This is double that. Water stained. We passed a refrigerator coming down here, floating out in the middle of the lake. So everything's swelled up, and it's going to create some problems. So don't really know exactly how today's going to go, but we're going to put the trolling motor down and give it all we got.
Is Upshaw on? All right, guys, me and Hallman. I know he made a long run. I chose to stay close here at Grand Lake. It's a little bit muddy. The water's coming up. I chose to fish a little point that has a little bit of rock on it, but I can actually fish close to the bank. You know, that's really important when you're fishing this rising water. Fish as close to the bank as you can. Those fish are going to start sucking up there, and hopefully I can run into one or two of this Strike King KVD 1.5. I'm ready to get going, man. Like, Hallman better watch out. Like, I'm kind of excited. I've seen some shad flickering around me, so let's get ready to go. Go. All right, it's time. Right here, we're fishing right down the edge of a little rock wall. And I've caught them here in the past, and I know these fish kind of migrate on this little rock wall. It gives them a place that they can, even if they're not moved all the way up entirely, they can still be sitting off a little bit, and I can still have a chance to catch them. But I wanted to start out doing something where I was moving. My idea later in the day is to go flipping, but I really just didn't want to go out there and do it yet. I want the sun to get just a little bit higher and kind of position those fish a little better. But I mean, there's no better way to break down cover, especially in a short amount of time, than with a little square bill crankbait. The water is obviously extremely dirty, and hopefully we can get a fish or two and put them in the boat. I know it's not going to be easy. You know, this lake has actually been really tough this year, and it makes it even a little tougher when the water's just at a steady rise like it is right now. I mean, if you see out here in front of me, we just got a mat of junk that you can't even make a cast into. I mean, I guess if you threw a frog in it or something, but I don't even know if it would make an imprint on it to where you could even get a bite. There's one feeding on a shad right there. They're like feeding on the rocks, like super, super shallow. Like right up on the rock. So maybe they are making their little move up there. Haven't caught one yet. The heck's up with that? I want to catch one already. And then I get forced back into reality that this is Grand Lake and fishing's tough. Man, we've been fishing some good places this year. I don't know if you've watched Chickamauga, Cherokee, on the FLW tour, and catching fish has not been the hardest thing in the world at those venues. So get a dose of reality when you got to come back to a place that the fishing is a little tougher, like it is right now here. But that doesn't mean we won't catch one. Probably if you get a bite right now, it's going to be a pretty good one.
Probably gonna try to bounce as many spots as I can this morning. I don't know. It's I may have been better off just staying put. These time periods are so short that you don't realize how short they are, an hour and a half, and you think. But I know that it goes by so fast. You really need to be in an area where you can just stay put and fish, which I could do here if I could get a couple of bites. This is a rock jetty that's usually very visible. Catches the current coming around the lake there. It's a place we got a lot of spawners back here, and they slip in here and spawn, and you should have a bunch of them right at the mouth of it. Post spawn coming out behind this marina. But with the lake so flooded, it makes it tough. For sure. Tempted to go back in behind it just a little bit because this thing's been dredged out and it doesn't have any cover on the bank at all either in there. So I mean, the bank's accessible throughout the whole thing, which is a good thing. Usually by this time of year in Grand, we've kind of gotten a little bit away from the spinnerbait and we've kind of gone to the square bill post spawn, but you know, generally the watercolor's clearer and not quite this stained. Still got the spinnerbait look to it. place got to have some current rolling around it. Catch one off that hardwood.
You know, I've never fished this format before. It's pretty interesting because it really it makes you expedite your decision making. You know, to me, this whole little pocket is really good, but it's kind of forcing me to kind of pick certain sections of it to try to catch a fish. You know, more high percentage areas, and that makes it a little more difficult to catch them. Especially not coming out here and practicing, just kind of showing up today and going fishing. Not that practice would do you any good, because anything I'd have found yesterday, the water would have been a foot higher on it. And that's not very productive. But I'm just flipping a creature bait right now. Just some isolated targets. I really like isolated targets when the water shoots up like this. It seems like, I mean, if you get in an area where it's just nothing but massive amounts of bushes, they could really be kind of set up anywhere. Isolated targets help me break it down faster, and I might catch those, you know, catch one here, one there, but like, I'm not having to cover just a ton of water and flipping a ton of bushes to try to get a bite. You know, it's one bush here, one bush there. I kind of increase my chances that way. I just really want to get a bite. Just a bite. Just get a clue. What's crazy is this is how my deck typically looks whenever I'm in a tournament. So like, it's really not any different as far as the craziness goes. So, as you notice, Brad and I have taken a little bit different mindset in this deal. I think his mindset after talking to him this morning is he's going to cover as much water as he can and high percentage areas as he can. And I'm not going to say I'm going to camp on places, but I'm going to really try to get a bite. Because, I mean, the thing is, you know, there's some pretty productive areas right up here around Wolf Creek that I feel like I can get a bite out of if I just fish them thoroughly. Where he's going on the mindset of, I'm going to just fish as many places as I can to try to find that one fish that's biting, that's active. And maybe he finds 5 or 6 of them that are active. You know, he was talking to me earlier and telling me, like, yeah, I got a spot that's really good at 751 and this one's really good at 750. And I'm like, man, I don't have nothing like that. Mine is pure, like, I pull up and say, hey, that looks good. Water's up, they should be right there. And if I catch them, I catch them. If I don't, I don't. I don't have any, like, true history, I guess you would say, as far as I'm not going to be married to a spot, but at the same time, I'm going to probably give more spots more credit than he would because of his past success. So that might actually hurt him a little bit in this deal and help me. Because, you know, the thing is these fish, they change all the time. And especially when that water moves and fluctuates a lot, your fish definitely are going to kind of position a little differently. But you look at a guy like Jason Christie that won here, you know, in 13, when the water was high, you know, he knew exactly what bushes those fish were going to be in, you know, when the water dropped. I mean, he knew the exact bushes. Now, but that's a guy that's dropped in every one of them bushes at every single water level at every single time of the year. So, you know, he kind of has a little bit of an advantage. But I mean, these willows to me are just as good as any other willows. Actually, I like isolated. Like I said before, I like isolated cover a lot. I mean, I really, really like fishing isolated cover. When I was here in 13, I didn't win or anything. I even think I missed a check, but my fish kind of changed on me a little bit, but I was catching most of mine in real isolated stuff. Like, I'd get a bite in this bush, and then, you know, I wouldn't see a bush for another 30 yards, and I'd get a bite in that bush. And I had it really dialed in, and then they kind of changed on me at the last minute, but I didn't have big stretches. I was fishing real isolated cover. Nice thing about this little stretch right here is my depth finder, I just came up to 4 feet. So it just goes to show you how steep that bank was that led up to those willows. These are actually probably a little shallower willows than you're going to find in a lot of other places. Not that that makes them any better, but I feel like it makes the fish a little more comfortable. They don't have to move all the way up under that junk mat.
Don't think that little jewel's gonna go 12. 16. But it was a bite. Just trying to get somewhere, you know, where you can see the, obviously we can get to the bank right here and it's clean. But the place I tried to come to in here is covered in debris. That little bite's going to keep me hooked up in here for a minute. If I can find a couple more places that are clean that I can get to. Most of them look like that right there, just covered in trash. Yeah, that one didn't weigh a pound. Well, no, I've never weighed a pounder, but I'm pretty sure that's like 8 inches or 8 ounces. Pretty sure of that. Little fish. I'd like to be able to go all the way down that bank right there is what I'd like to be able to do. Golly, there's just so much debris. Log jam right here getting through. Alright, we're not going far. You stay right where you are like you did last time. I'm just idling from spot to spot because this place is so big.
I'm sitting there flipping a minute ago and I looked up in the sawdust and there were some wakes. Now it could have been carp and I saw some shad flickering, so uh-oh. That was funny. That's the only thing, whenever you're fishing this real tight quarter stuff, you got to really make sure that you're you don't swing one too high, because then that kind of stuff happens. Especially since I'm using like 7.5 foot rods. There's got to be one in here. It's crazy.
Approaching 67 minutes.
67 left? Okay. Dang, I got plenty of time left. I hadn't got quite clued in yet, but I will. I just hope I got enough time when I do get clued in. Have to move some floaters out of the way. Yuck. So Hallman caught him one, huh? Caught him a short, or a non-keeper, non-scoreable. Thank goodness. I don't think very far. Unless you're more in the open stuff. If they're like swimming up in that like sawgrass and stuff or whatever that is up there, that bank grass, I think they might move a little further, but I think you almost got to land right on their head or right across their face or something. Problem is, that
Yeah, baby. Come here. Bingo! Woo, that's a good one. She first hit it, I was like, I know that's a big one. But then that stick, she was hung up on that stick, and she didn't look like she spawned yet. She's probably just a full of shad. Her tail's pretty beat up. That's good. All right. What's that, about 2-pounder?
0.
Shaking.
Zeros. 5, 7. 5, 6, 8. That's it.
All right, you good?
Yeah.
Pretty fish. All right. Whew, that's a good way to start it. It's just about being able to get to the bank, you know? I mean, it's not really about spots. It's just, I just know that those willow trees and bushes are just going to go forever. And I mean, I want to flip them as bad as anybody. But it's just, you know, same situation that we ran into when we got to Sam Rayburn this year, you know. When we went down there, we started the season at Sam Rayburn. That first FLW Tour event, the lake was 10 foot high or something like that. And that tournament was dominated. Of course, the big difference there is they've got grass. Those fish are going to stay in that grass and live in that grass. This lake doesn't have that. So these fish are going to push harder to the bank than those. But same philosophy. I want another bite like that. 5 bites like that. Ooh.
So Hallman caught him a dang biggin, huh? Oh my God. Well, I'm gonna have to change up a couple things real quick. I like what I see, but I'm not liking that I'm not getting any bites. So I had to change weights. I was flipping a 5/16, and that wasn't quite cutting it with the amount of gunk and stuff on the water. So we're changing up, going to a half on my flipping stuff. Maybe that'll help a little bit, and then we're about to change areas here in a second too. Can't let Hallman just run away with it. I mean, come on now. Alright. Let's see what happens. Making a move.
I gotta tie something on. I've got to. I got to tie something on. You know what that was? That was a shad spawn underneath that mat, even with the sun up.
Made a little move. I don't even know if we can fish this little spot. Got a little bit of brush on it right now. We'll try though. Got my hopes up there for a second. Stick bass. Make a good cast and it fouls up. I caught another 3-pounder. Can I weigh in trees? I don't guess so. I want a 5-pounder. Let me catch a 5-pounder. Just for the sake of catching a 5-pounder. Alright, let's make a move.
Still trying to figure out another way to get a couple bites in here with all this trash. I could see that frog working underneath those mats if you know, if they were shallow enough up on the bank, fish. Debris fields are awesome. I love fishing these floating mats, but generally when the water's clear, you know, on clearer lakes, it seems like they use them more. These fish could definitely just be shad spawning underneath them at night. The only problem with the frog in here is that that bank is so steep that, like, if you don't get bit in the first 4 foot off the bank, you know, it's just so deep they're not going to be there. But like right there, I could see one doing it. A little isolated trash mat like that one. All right, let's move to another little section of this place. Full screen Upshaw.
Making moves, making moves. Oh, looks like we got a little rainstorm coming. That's interesting. Hopefully it doesn't come over here. Maybe it'll go over Hallman. Alright, now Grand Lake bass. Ain't always been good to me, but could be good to me right now. Whew. Man, this looks good. God, they gotta be in here. Like, if you think about it, there's the bank right there. There's the bank. And these are the line of bushes that they're gonna pull up into. You would think this would be like prime water right here. All these little willows and buck bushes right here. When flipping this real heavy cover like this, I like, as far as gear goes, and maybe not, I might not be able to show it off today, but I like a 7.5-to-1 Lew's Hyper Mag reel. I like that higher end reel for flipping and pitching, just for the fact that it's so smooth and it makes my flips even more precise. 30-pound Seagar flipping fluorocarbon. I just like 30 when I'm flipping real heavy timber. This is the exact setup that I used. I caught the 9-pounder at Chickamauga and sight fishing, and a 7.6 Custom Pro heavy action rod. But I mean, it's really important to use big gear when you're trying to wrestle these fish out of these bushes and willow trees. We all kind of have our preference, but I mean, that's what works for me, and it's something that I've developed. It's not something I just started using this week. I've used this same rod and reel setup for the last couple of years, especially the rod. I've used this rod, this exact model, for about the last 4, and I just never really have any issues as far as hooking them and landing them. So, got to use what works, but I know this works for me pretty well. And just a creature bait, black and blue. And I actually have a rattle inside of it that I put inside. And this time of year, especially when the water's really, really dirty like this, I think anything can help. You know, whether it's adding coffee scent to your bait or putting a rattle in. I kind of do a little bit of everything whenever I'm fishing real dirty water. I can't hurt, you know. Whether or not it works, it's another thing, but I changed up. So I was flipping a 5/16 ounce weight, and typically that's what I like to flip, but there's so much junk in the water right now, floating mats and debris and stuff like that, that it's making it hard to get through there with a 5/16, which is real close to 3/8 ounces. It's pretty lightweight. So I changed to a half, and part of the other reason is I changed to a half is because there's a lot more depth on these bushes. I drove by these bushes when we were coming out to the first spot, and I knew for a fact I was going to come back and fish them. They just looked right, everything looked right, but I wanted a little bit more sun on them before I came over here.
Zero it out. Zeros.
Not shaking this time.
118. 118.
Good?
Yep, good.
I didn't even, that fish got it so quick.
Thought you were gonna knock me out with
And these Hayabusa FPP flipping hooks, dude. Game on.
Hallman audio.
Game on. Still got rubber in my mouth. I would not believe that that's the only fish in that bush. He should have had a girlfriend. It was a lot bigger than him. It was a bite. That was a bite.
I don't want to have to retie all that.
So I take it Hallman caught him another one. I mean, he's just catching little babies. I mean, other than a 5-pounder. I mean, he caught him a non-keeper and a 118. I mean, you can't even almost classify a 1-pounder as a keeper. I mean, come on, Hallman. I'm expecting nothing but 5 pluses all day long with you. Kind of weak effort, in my opinion. You were going to 1-pound me to death? Do I need to pull out a Ned rig or something? Jeez. No, but for real though, he's got something a little bit dialed in, figured out. I mean, I feel like about the 2 things he's either doing is either flipping or cranking. And I'm going to say with just the sheer amount of cover in the water, he's probably flipping, but I could be wrong. My game plan doesn't really change. You see guys, they'll start scrambling and doing all kinds of different stuff. I mean, I came into this with a game plan, and this is just what all I can do is control what I can control, and Hallman's going to go do whatever he does, and we'll just see what happens. He might just murder me, but at the end of the day, all you can do is go execute your game plan. You can't go catch other people's fish. So my game plan was to start where I started and then get to flipping. And then in between throw a swim jig and a vibrating jig. So this is what it is. I hadn't had my first bite yet. Hopefully I get one though. Hey, maybe I'll learn something from this episode. So when I go back, I can just watch where Hallman caught him and see what he was doing and be like, oh man, that's what I should have been doing. Or maybe he has to do that with me. A lot of time left. The big key is when you flip it up in there, you don't necessarily have to jump it up and down a lot. All I do is shake it with that rattle in there. I want them to just sit there, and if they're sitting there looking at it, they're more apt to bite it if it's just sitting there shaking in front of their face with this dirty water. I want to make as much commotion down there as it can. There's got to be one right through here. Some dense willows.
Let's if the water comes up another 3 inches while we're back here fishing, we're not getting out. It's got me breathing hard, just trying to get in here. Man, I want to catch another one of those big ones. I like those. There's just so much trash. We're down here where the poor people on Grand Lake live. Come on, fish. Give us another bite. Amazing what a couple of bites will do for you. You know, I'm wanting to run and bounce spots, and you catch a 5-pounder and you're like, well, stay put, son. Because you know she's not the only one. And she wasn't where I expected her to be. I expected her to be out there on that secondary point. But I hadn't been up here since we fished the FLW up here over a month ago. I don't get to get up here as much as I used to, and I sure do miss fishing up here. Got a lot of friends up here and stuff that I don't get to see as much as I'd like to. And this place is like 3 hours from my house. It's a long ways from here to Oklahoma City. Boy, that'd have been a good place for one to be. Look at those shad. You see those shad jumping right there? That's what it's all about. I knew that was a bite. There's one there. Come on, you retard. Just found a little fish. It's amazing what all you start seeing when you get a bite or two. You're like, oh, when I come back through, I can flip that and throw a worm on that. And maybe pick up a couple extra fish. We're gonna catch one back here. No way we don't. Got shad back here. Just too much good looking. You can kind of see what I mean by getting to the bank. I mean, like, I don't have a mile of trees between me and where the water stops. Because these fish, when this water comes up, they want to push, you know, they want to push up into a foot, and they do push up to a foot. But on that flat plate, those flat places, that foot is just, you can't get to it. And then there's so many things to stop on between it and the foot, you know, I mean, there's so many trees and bushes, and I mean, you can't even see half the bushes that are out there because they're so deep. But in a place like this, you can get to the bank. We're going to flip our way out of here for sure. How much time we got? Perfect.
Can I watch that now?
Got the music going on at the pool already. They're ready for summertime at Shangri-La. I wonder where the...
Oh. Hadn't had a bite yet, obviously. I could just start setting the hook on some willow trees and make it look like I had one. That'd be pretty funny. Go in after one that's not actually a bass. I just want Hallman to have to hear Upshaw's hooked up. That way he's like, oh man, like, does he have a big one? And just let him sit there and wonder for like 5 minutes. It's all mind games. Not that it would really affect him very much. You know, the only bad thing about fishing a real flooded condition is, oh, there's a white bass. He's not going to make it. Can I weigh a white bass in? Now, the only bad thing about fishing a really flooded condition like what we're dealing with right here is everything looks so good. You know, there's a lot of cover in the water. The only problem with that is there's a lot of places for those bass to hide, and that's when you got to get real particular with what you're fishing and where, you know, why you're fishing it. You know, whether it's targeting truly willow trees or points or bushes or, you know, the grass inside the willow trees on the inside edge, you know, and trying to figure that out. You know, I knew that coming into this it was going to be kind of difficult for both of us, really. I mean, because if you didn't land on them in the first couple of places, you know, 3 or 4 places that you fished, more than likely you weren't going to do very well, you know. Did he? Ha ha ha! Hallman lost one. That's rude. That's not nice to say. But, like, for real, though, what is he doing? Can I watch? Like, I'd like to watch. Like, he keeps catching them and losing them and all that stuff. He obviously landed on them fairly quickly today, and I haven't landed on them yet. But the nice thing about this format, I mean, I still got a little under 2 hours left, and anything can happen. You know, I get on the right little stretch of bushes, and then all of a sudden it's game on for me. So the heck is he doing?
And that was just terrible. I don't know if I was on or not, but I threw up there in that corner and felt something tick my spinner bait, and I threw back up there again, and it was another big one. I had her on for just a second. Oh, this is going to be some navigation through here now, I'm telling you what. You're going to have to pull that seat out while we're back here.
So far, Hallman's approach has been a little better as far as moving around and covering water. Fishing high percentage little places. Mine's more of a needle in a haystack kind of thing, but if I ever find that haystack or find that needle, it's gonna it could be really good for me. Because this is an area that they pile into pretty good, and you know, you can get big in a hurry if you find them. I don't need 5-pounders, I just need a bunch of 2.5 to 3-pounders. $6.86. See, I mean, technically on Grand Lake, that's one fish. So, like, at any point, I could change that. Thankfully, he dumped that big one. He's stuck on something? That's bad. I need that to happen more often. Get him slow his roll a little bit. He's had 4 bites so far, and I've had 0. That's where I'll get a bite right there. Just flip way back up in a willow tree. I don't like flipping that far back into stuff. I mean, I do, but I don't, because like every foot you flip further back into cover, your landing percentage goes down like exponentially. Like, I mean, you're just not. I mean, you get to a point where if you flip too far back, you can't even get your boat back there if you do hang one up. And then you're trying to depend on fishing line to drag one over the top, you know, and to hold its strength. It's just not a very good recipe. I will if that's where they're at, but I like more high percentage landing situations, personally. Ooh, I thought that was one there.
Come on, biggin. Stay hooked up this time when you jump on there. That's a cool tool. I want one of those. Keep feeling something good there. I see what it is now. It's that cable. Thought it was a pipe, but it was not. Keep them honest on this styrofoam. And you hate to lose fish anytime, but when it's tough like this, you really hate to lose them. Especially good ones.
Man, fishing some great looking stuff right now. Just haven't quite got that first bite that's clued me in on, you know, if they're on the really flat banks or if they're on the steeper banks. Kind of fished a mixture of both so far. Fished some real isolated willows as well as some more, you know, just straight willow banks. I know they're on willows. It's just a matter of running across where they're actually at, or I'm assuming they are. You know, it's near summertime. It's May here on Grand Lake, and that's I mean, that's a typical Grand Lake pattern, is running willow trees. So we're gonna do something real crazy real quick. I'd really like for him to be on that buzzbait deal. Yes.
I've got a fish here and I don't know what it's doing. I honestly think it's a sick fish. Boy, there's a bad deal right there. I got cable on top of a power pole, under a power pole, and underneath the motor. And I got a fish here that I can't figure out what he's doing. I mean, I've got a mess back there, Bubba. That's bad. I gotta fix that. You can show it, I don't care. I mean, that is bad.
Still ain't caught one yet. What I'm doing is kind of racing to these willows. I'm just trying to not waste a lot of time in between them right now. A walleye boat out there.
I don't think that one will go a pound, but we'll weigh. There ain't no way. There ain't no way. It's a waste of time.
Zeros.
Like 0.6, 0.7. It's too small.
Too small. Too small.
Clock is ticking in my head. Clock is ticking. There was a fish right down here that spinnerbait fish. I would love for that fish to bite again, because we could use her. She was right there about that rock. Right there. Got her. Get in this boat. I thought she might be a spawner.
Zeroed out.
0.
0. Two, 4, 4. 2, 4, 4.
That's not the same fish. There's another one there bigger than that. I don't feel like that's the same fish. The fish that I hooked on that spinnerbait was bigger than that fish. I know it was. This high water's got a new push of fish trying to spawn. Water temperature's 69.15 on the Garmin, so it's right around 70 probably. Once the sun comes out. Really? I was wanting to run in my off time.
A little over 5 minutes left of fishing, and I guess Hallman caught him another one. Whatever, Bradley. I told you to take it easy on me today. You obviously didn't listen. And I heard you called your shot, which makes it even worse, because that means you're like super dialed in then. I'm about to make a move once this half gets underway, or the next half gets underway. And I got one little area I wasn't really planning on going to it, but we've got some clouds that have settled in. And I'm just gonna see what happens. I don't know, might not even get a bite there, but it's not like I'm getting a bite here. I hadn't had a bite yet, so we're gonna see what happens at that spot. But Hallman has a little over 9 pounds now. At least he's not 1 pounding me to death. I mean, he did catch one 1-pounder. But, you know, he's got him a 5 and a 2 something, almost 2.5 pounder. But, you know, the thing is, he's under 10 pounds. If I roll through the right little stretch and catch me 5 2-pounders, I'm beating him. So, it doesn't really matter. I just got to roll across the right little spot.
I just had a bite right here, and no doubt it was a fish. She ended up getting my little critter crawl, my cricket.
Approaching 2 minutes.
And we got 2 minutes. I should have just picked up that other bait I had tied on right there. I got a little brush hog tied on. I know that was a fish. Well, give them next period.
Mark's going to take you to the studio. What, max 5 minutes, like you said?
We done?
All right, everybody, 90 minutes in the books. Brad Hallman with a commanding lead so far. 3 fish for 9 pounds, a little over 9 pounds. And they're going to take about a 5-minute break. They are allowed to go to a different area if they want to, or they can remain right there. They just can't fish. So we're going to take just a short break, come back. We will wrap up the first half with the guys, and then they will start second half action. 90 minutes remaining. Everybody stay tuned. We'll be right back.
What did I just do with my weights? All right, that's the end of the first period, and a little break here between the second period, and I'm stringing up a couple little deals. I'm really surprised the way some of these fish related. I really feel like they're spawners. I expected to catch fish and be bouncing secondary points, but I think what's happened here is you know, the water's pushed up and it's allowed that last little wave of fish that hadn't spawned to come in. And I really feel like that's what's going on. So I mean, like right here in this break, I sat down, tied on a little wacky worm, because the way some of those fish bit in that last period, I feel like I can pick up a few more. I was completely 110% planning on running 100 different places this morning, and what really happened was I just slipped back in here and caught, you know, a fish, and then saw had hold of another really good fish. And, you know, these periods are just they go by so fast, and I know this lake's tough. I know it's hard to catch a fish with these conditions, with the water being this high. Really, all we're doing is getting somewhere where we can get to the bank. I mean, it's that simple. And you know, you hear guys talk about it all the time, or you talk about guys fishing fields and picnic tables, and basically all that ever is that it allows guys to get to the bank, and that's what this area right here is allowing me to do today. So hopefully I can have a stronger second period than I had the first and catch another great big one, and I'd be really happy. That's about all I got, Marcus.
No audio.
Made a quick little move across the lake. It just wasn't getting it done where I was at. I've got to make up some ground, so I came to a little place that they'll pile up sometimes this time of year, and hopefully put a couple of fish in the boat real fast. So let's see what can happen. Is it really? Yeah, go for it. Got a little bit of rain right now. Huh? Oh. Got some rain. Got a little bit of breeze. Got to be a bass around here somewhere.
I'm just back to covering some of the same places that I just saw and had a couple of bites, but this time I'm covering it with a wacky rig worm, so a little more thorough in this little corner right here. I'm gonna flip around where I saw this one fish. I saw a fish up here. I don't like the one I thought might be a sick fish or something. I think she picked my bait up once. It's about a 3-pound fish, I think. The tail looks really good on it. She could be a spawner. We're gonna go back and check. Keep them honest. That was weird. Thought I saw my line jump. It's a good feeling whenever you're fishing and you feel like that every cast you're going to get a bite. Those are good areas when you feel like that. That fish was right in there. Oh, there's fry right there. Did you see that? I pulled that Senko up and the fry lifted. That fish should be catchable. That fish should be psycho. That's why that fish is acting so weird. It's a fry gardener. Those things are like wild animals. They're real fast. Like pick your bait up and run really fast. It's also why she's moving. You know, like I saw her there and then I saw her over there. It's because that fry is up and it's moving, you know, and she's just following it. She should have bit when I pulled that Senko up in the middle of them. Won't bite. There's more in here to catch than that one. Where that big one was. It's almost like I can see a bed right there. Ooh. I'm probably just imagining things.
So I made a little move over here across down the lake a little bit. I've got to find a group of fish, just try to hunt a little group down. I've got to make a move right now. I mean, I'm, you know, a little under 10 pounds back, and Brad's obviously got him a little pattern figured out, and I need to figure me one out too. I really thought about living and dying in there where I was at, and it might have been the best move, but we got a little bit of cloud cover right now, a little bit of rain, and you know, that changes things. That changes conditions. It changes the way fish will position, and I'm just trying to stay ahead of them right now. What I was doing was flipping, and for me, I just don't typically get as many bites flipping whenever it gets cloudy like this. I feel like that sun kind of pushes them up next to that cover a little better. And with me not having any practice and just coming out here fishing, I almost just have to just fish my instinct and not necessarily get stuck on something for too long. And I'm that kind of guy anyway. I fish a lot by the seat of my pants anyway. I'm the guy that always has a dozen or so rods on the deck or more. And so this is pretty normal for me. So I mean, I got a little job to do right here. I got to catch up a little bit, and nothing's impossible, you know. I mean, all it takes is a couple casts and getting the one right bite and figuring out what I need to be doing, and I'm being in really good shape. I typically don't fish this end of the lake just too terribly much. I'm more of a clean water kind of guy. Now granted, right now Grand Lake isn't the cleanest place in the world, but anyway, but I just prefer cleaner water for my own sanity. But you'd think there'd be one back up in here. Main Lake Point and post-spawn fish. A lot of cover, flooded cover. Ah, that was actually a bite right there. Brought it off that bush and he knocked the fire out of it. Oh well. The only bad thing about this, when the water's this dirty, is they don't always get your bait the way you want them to. Sometimes they just knock at it or hit at it, you know, it's just not They don't see it as good, don't feel it as well. If you're in the market for a cooler, there's one right there. A little banged up, perfect condition to hold you a drink or two. Can't confirm or deny that it'll actually keep them cold, but it'll be a place to hold them, I guess. Is it too late to just have somebody come out here and clean some of this bank off with like a rake? Some of this floating debris so I can fish this area a little bit more effectively? That'd be great. So if anybody's out there and you just want to come help me out real quick, just come on over and clean some of this debris off so I can make some more efficient casts. That'd be really good. Really nice of you.
Yeah, I'm just trying to, I've slowed down a lot. I'm sure you've noticed. I really just feel like I've got around a group of fish that are, spawning or just pushed up here in this flooded cover. And I knew when I came through with a spinnerbait, I'm just covering water, and I'm looking as I came in. I was like, okay, I'm going to flip my way out of here. Just because some of the way that they're related, I mean, it's like they're right on the bank, like their nose is on it. So like once I get 2-3 foot off the bank where it starts to drop, I don't get a bite. Like everything is just sucked right up to it. So I slow down because I just want to cover it more thoroughly, after you get a couple of bites of spinnerbait out front, and it's obvious there's some fish up there. But what I'm starting to notice is like I just had a bite right there. I saw it swirl at my bait when I pulled it out of the bush, but small fish. It wasn't a better fish, but any flip could be, for sure. I just want to pick it apart, go slower. This is really the ideal situation of what you're wanting to find in a bracket like this, with only 90 minutes to fish. You really kind of like to just be in an area that you can pick apart and use 3 or 4 different baits and catch fish without having to run and gun. We just got lucky and found one this morning. There's no doubt that there's more fish here. It's just a matter of getting a bite. That was not a fish. That's me getting excited. So like earlier I was throwing a frog on this mat, but now I feel like, use this heavier weight and punch it, because there's definitely some fish right there on the bank. Can't really see your targets in that mat, but sawdust mats, what we call those right there, if you can see it. They're really, really good this time of year. Well, like I say, they are better on clearer lakes, but they play even at Grand Lake too, even with the stain. Got a little different setup than what I normally would be flipping at Grand Lake. I don't normally flip braid. I don't normally flip a 3/4 or 1 ounce weight. But I am today. I don't know that I need it so much right here, but reason being is because the lake's so high. I knew if I started flipping bushes that were 5, 6 foot deep, I wanted something that I could cover water with, you know, get it in, get it out. Punch through some of these sawdust mats and debris mats and different things that I saw today, which is not the usual for Grand Lake. Usually it's, you know, in a bush. It's only 18 inches or 2 foot deep. But if you're down in the bush 5, 6 foot, I didn't want to put that fluorocarbon down in there and hook a 4-pounder 5 foot deep in a tree. That wouldn't be a good success ratio, I don't think. Man, I really thought I'd get bit right there. Oh well, we didn't.
And we're trying a little bit of everything today. Throw a swim jig up here in 8 inches of water to flipping trees out in 8 foot of water. A bird's trying to catch me. Can I weigh a bird in? Seen some movement back up in here. I'm assuming it's probably carp. Never know. Like there's one moving right there. All right, let's make a move.
Still back to flipping. Need to pick that spinnerbait back up. This is a bad thing about me. I get this stick in my hand, it's hard to put it down. It's got so much confidence in it. We got this open bank for a little while, so let's put that blade out there. There's some more areas of this place that we're just going to stay in here and fish that have got more trash mats on that I just skipped earlier, but we're definitely going back in there now. We'll go back in there with a flipping stick because I definitely can't throw a spinnerbait in there, but I can punch those mats. It'd be cool to pull a big one up over one of those log jam mats. There could definitely be one there. There's so much trash I can't even keep that spinnerbait blade turning. Just debris everywhere in the water. Come on, big fish. Let's dance. I know you're in here. Oh. Better be able to, or we won't be able to get out.
Made a little move here across the pocket, across this little bay. This stretch of isolated willows down there, but what I noticed is there's 3 different herrings through here, blue herons, and that's something you got to really pay attention to when you got a lot of the same thing going on. You know, there's the one constant we have is the water's high everywhere, so you want to find those little intricate details that are a little bit different. In this case, I found some birds, so that means there's probably some bait around. And hopefully some bass. That's one thing I really like right there. That bird, I spooked it off this little perch that he had over here, and he flew right back over here and landed right next to me. That means that there's definitely some bait here. If you ever roll up to a spot and there's some birds there, but they all fly off and they never come back, they never kind of just set up at a different spot, that typically means there's not any bait right there. Or there was and there's not anymore, or, because I can tell you right now, if there's bait around, those birds aren't going to leave or go very far. Interesting. Gosh, so many herons in here. There's got to be a bass in here somewhere. Hey, what in the world? See that? Those shad must be spawning in these little float piles. Huh. I've seen that quite often. Yeah, I bet that's what it is. These shad are spawning on these debris piles. Think you'd have this many shad around, there'd be a bass just sitting here waiting to chomp on your bait. My goodness. Changing up a little bit, I'm gonna put on a frog. Oh, there we go. That's the one I was looking for right there. Oh, yeah. Really? Well, I found some shad spawning, I think. I pushed up on some of these debris piles up around this bank, and I switched over to a Strike King popping perch, solid white, or I think it's called Sexy Shad is the one I'm throwing, but just a white. And the reason why it's important to throw, or why I like throwing this one when the shad are spawning, is because it has that big tail on the back of it, if you can see that. And it's a lot of white, you know, it's a lot of commotion coming through the water. And, you know, other frogs just have like the two legs on them, and those are fine, and those work. I just want something that has a little bit bigger profile. And it's all about profile to me. I want something that's big and bulky, and especially when this water is so dirty and high, you want something that has a lot of profile to it. And it tends to get you a few more bites sometimes. It was helped design, I know KVD's name on it, but it was helped design by Todd Castledine, which is from Sam Rayburn, and I mean he knows how to catch big ones, and he's really, really good at catching them on a frog, not necessarily around grass per se, but just fishing it around everything. And he's probably one of the better guys that I know that know how to catch them on a frog well. And he helped design this thing, and he understands the idea of the profile, you know, and of a fish. And that's why this popping perch excels in situations like this. And whether or not I catch one on it today or not is just might not be at the right little end of the lake, or there's multitude of things that go on, but, and especially since I have less than an hour at this point. But you know, if you come back out here, don't be afraid to pick this thing up and fish it around some of this debris and this salt dust. You could catch a really big one doing this, and a lot of them. I want to say Ish Monroe, when he caught him here in 13, he was at the FLW tour that we had here. Real similar conditions, and he caught them all on a frog. And while everybody was flipping bushes, I want to say he caught a couple of 20-pound bags doing it. and the water was the same color. I mean, it wasn't like it was any cleaner. Now maybe where he was at was a little cleaner, but I think a lot more of it has to do with if you got other conditions going on, shad spawn, or the fish are pulled up eating bluegill, or kind of where they're positioned has a lot more to do with it. And as many shad and bait fish as I've seen up off the bottom today, I just don't know if these fish are just sitting on the bottom waiting for my little creature bait to fall by their face, unfortunately.
Alright, so this is a trash mat in the back of this spawning pocket. It's no different than what we just caught those fish off of. You just can't. The only way you can get to the bank where those fish are sitting is to flip and punch through that mat. Just like that. Get in this boat, baby. Just like that. Spawner.
Zeroed out. Zeros. Yep. Two, 4, 2. 2, 4, 2.
It's just a trash mat that, you know, in Florida, those guys don't think anything about it, but I know, you know, these Ozark lakes, guys don't fish them as much, but the bass definitely relate to them. You just gotta have pieces of the puzzle figured out, because, you know, they're so expansive. You know, that fish, like these fish right here, they're not related to the mat itself, you know. And if you flipped, the camera's not showing you, but if you flip out here in the, you know, we're 6, 7, 8 foot deep, you know, around the walkway, you know, that's not the deal. These fish are sitting, you know, right up there by the bank. I mean, so all I'm trying to do is just get to the bank through that trash mat. And that's really all I'm doing, is flipping in that 1, 2 foot zone, you know, with a 1 ounce weight, so it goes down through there, and then just hopping it up and down until one grabs it. It'd be really fun to catch a 6-pounder like this. Very doable. Don't like flipping long distances in mats because the hookup land ratio is usually not very good, but in this situation we don't have much of a choice. I'm not going to be able to get all the way over there without starting my big motor and plowing through it. So earlier I was talking about my setup being different, you know, than what I would normally flip on green. This is very close to my, you know, what I would flip in grass. Say that again? This setup is very close to what we use in Florida or any of the grass lakes. You know, 1 ounce weight, 80-pound sunline braid. The big difference on this one is the rod. I'm not flipping an 8-foot rod like I do there. And this mat it'd be fine. And in the bushes it's fine too. It's just for landing fish. It's for casting purposes. That 8-foot rod's just too much. You know, when we're around those bushes and willow trees, it's too cumbersome. Too cumbersome. Need a shorter rod, so this is a 7.2 Amistad by Falcon. It's one of the new Expert series, and it it's the perfect length for flipping around here. All right, let's see if we can get out of this. That grass kills that spinnerbait blade and it feels just like a bite. I mean, that's how fast the water's come up here. You know, they just mowed here. It looks like yesterday probably. The last couple of days they've definitely mowed. And the water's already up to where they were mowing. We've had some tournaments where the lakes come up like this, you know, quite often in Oklahoma and this time of year, Fort Gibson being the worst. And I can remember one BFL we fished there years ago that a friend of mine, Sean Goodwin, won, and it came up so fast. He caught them flipping a bigger weight, and the water was up in the bushes and the trees pretty good, and the bite was good before the storm came, and then, you know, it came up 15 feet, you know, in 3 days or whatever, and he won just by flipping the same trees that they were in 2-3 days earlier. The trees were just 6-7 foot deep. The fish hadn't made that push to the bank. So there's all kinds of different scenarios when the water comes up like this, but following the water is usually the best bet. But it does get better as it's crests or it's been up for a while, you know, to allow all those fish to kind of get there. Because right now you know, it's just coming a foot a day, and it's just a lot for them to keep up with. But once it crests and stays there, there'll be a whole bunch of them on the bank. I'm surprised we didn't get bit there. Here comes the rain. Man, I don't want to get in a rain suit.
Well, Brad obviously isn't slowing down on me at all. But nice thing is anything can happen. Still got plenty of time. 11 pounds is still very doable. However, I might have to probably get a bite here pretty quick before it gets out of reach on me. Okay. At this point, I'm just trying to get a bite and just chucking this 1.5 around, this KVD 1.5, and honestly just trying to pick something apart, try to get a little lucky. I need to get a little lucky at this point. But hey, you know what? I've won off luck before, so never know, Dave might be that day too. Ooh. Interesting. See them fish swim out of there? I don't know if that's bass or what that is. Something swam out of there, spooked them out of there. Ran way over to the left. There we go. Ooh, I don't know what kind of bug that was. Ooh. Somebody fishing right there in front of us. Gonna idle up. Yeah, we're going further in.
Back to punching mats, but I knocked out my cameraman. Well, it's compact underneath there. That wind's pushed it in there and it's tight. Hard to get through. A little deep right there. There should be one right here. Spotted bass or something. There's usually a spotted bass around these parts. Let's see if we can nose in here. Around these rocks.
We came up in here in this marina. I've been primarily fishing true post spawners, you know, or places where I think they're kind of pulling out. And here is more of where I think they're closer to the spawn stage. Obviously, I know they're not spawning right now, but you still got fish that are garden fry and stuff like that. And the nice thing is with these sawdust mats is those fry garters will push their fry up right up next to that stuff, and that's when you can really capitalize with that frog. And I'm fishing in the marina's backyard right here. Obviously this is a gas dock right here with a big peninsula that runs out. So the nice thing is with that high water is you can pretty much get wherever you really want to go in regards to on the lake. So right now I'm just trying to catch some that may be garden fry up here with this frog. Maybe catch a big one, because that's what I need. And the water's a little bit cleaner. It doesn't look like it from the naked eye, but it is a little bit cleaner once you got off that main lake. it's going to be a move like this that's going to determine if I'm going to catch up with Brad or not. Maybe I do, maybe I don't, but I got to figure out a way to get a bite. You know, skipping in itself is pretty hard sometimes, but trying to skip with all this timber and stuff on the water, it makes it that much harder. Can't even troll around without getting stuff all over your trolling motor. We're gonna idle the back. How long did it take you to get this figured out when you want? Like in practice? Wire. You got that thing dialed in? Oh yeah, I had that like the first fight. I'd say half a day. So when I was at Cherokee, you know, a lot of people ask me how fast did you figure it out. I actually figured out kind of where they were set up and how to catch them in about the first half day of practice, I'd say. But I didn't really dial it in I dialed it in to the point where I could get a bunch of bites, but I didn't really know what I was on because I wasn't setting the hook on really anything. And you know, the thing is you can only learn so much in practice anyway. I mean, until you start setting the hook and figuring out how big they are, you know, everything changes by the time the tournament comes around. For the most part, there it didn't really change too terribly much, but by the third and fourth day, most of my fish were depleted. So I kind of had to fish new water, kind of just fish and not worry about fish that I had marked. And that was the difference maker, is kind of keeping an open mind, but keeping that idea of where I knew those fish were going to be positioned. I can tell you this, I was on them a whole lot better there than I am right now here. But, you know, you never know though. This one stretch right here, I've got a few minutes left. Could be the place to be. So, we'll see.
Made a little move. This little area we hadn't fished yet. It's always a good thing, some fresh water. We can get a couple new fish. Hard to keep my spinner blades churning. This is usually a big flat. Now there's some stuff out here to turn my boat up on. It really looks different back here. There ought to be one somewhere between here and that dock. It's like buzzbait water right there. Yeah, I knew it was shallow in here. There she is. Ah, yeah, you got off. All the way up there and nothing. You catch those fish on top water. I thought I bumped the stick. Usually that high booster trailer hook sticks them. She smacked it again. Smart fish. I got her that time. Not big. That one won't go. That's why we couldn't catch her. Well, for such a little fish, she sure messed up my spinnerbait. Fish bit like 4 times before it ever got it. It's like a foot deep up there. See that fish right there jump from the spinnerbait? Could have been a carp. Be a good place to catch a big one. Up there on that flat. How can there not be one right here? $20? Oh, there's gotta be one right there. Golly, did you see that? That sucker come from the other direction to hit it. I don't know how she didn't get it. Ah, I can't believe we didn't catch one back here. We gone.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you saw Reggie Miller come back and hit all them threes at one time. I mean, that's pretty much what I'm going to have right now. Brad's got 11 pounds on me. I hadn't caught a bass yet. Every second that goes off with me not catching a fish just puts me that less likely to catch up. And yeah, they're all swirling out here by the boat. No big deal. But yeah, now Brad's fished a good match, man. Like, there ain't no doubt about it. I mean, he knows this place as good as anybody I know. And I'd really like a rematch. Maybe I get to pick the lake. And I can promise you it won't be grand. No, it's just tough right now. I mean, it's the fishing's tough. This lake is in a weird flux with all the water, additional water that's been poured into it. And it doesn't look like it's going to come down anytime soon. There's a lot of events coming up on this lake too. And you know, it's just how it goes. I'm going to kind of pitch on the front edge of these docks through here and hopefully get a bite, and if not, and so be it. Ooh. Ooh. Can I make a run real quick? You think I got enough time to run back to the ramp and flip for about 30 more minutes? No. You know, I learned a long time ago, in fishing, you got to become a good loser because you're not going to win every tournament you fish. At the same time, you know, it doesn't change your mindset as far as trying to catch them every single time. But sometimes you're gonna win, sometimes you're not. But you got to have a real short-term memory on your losses and on your wins, because if on your wins you don't, you know, if you try to keep those in your mind for too long, it'll get you overconfident. You just gotta always fish whatever you have in front of you, no matter what it is, and just don't get too far ahead of yourself. I knew that coming into this little event against Bradley that if I landed on the right spot soon enough, I'd have a really legit chance of beating him. And I just never ran across the right little, you know, one or two little spots that had him. At least for what I was doing, you know, at that particular time. Yeah, I have places in my mind where it's like, man, I would have done this or would have done that. But when you're only talking 3 hours, you can only fish so much water. And I knew that coming into it. And if anything, I did exactly what I wanted to do today. I just didn't get the bites while doing it.
Approaching 6 minutes.
6 minutes. I bet Bradley's like, haha, I got this one in the bag. It's alright. I still can't get over Bradley caught like a 5.5, 5 3/4 pounder. Like, goodness gracious. That is a big one. Talk about like a confidence booster. If I'd have caught a 5.5 pounder in the first 45 minutes of fishing, I'd have been like, I'd have already thought I won the whole thing. That's impressive. Don't care who you are.
Back to slipping again. Only got about 5 minutes. Get in this boat.
Hallman.
Yo.
All right, zeroed out. 110. 110.
Make it back to that mat. Anyway, back to flipping mats. We just don't have much time. Don't like this one.
We got a good one.
Got a 5-aught high booster right through the head. He picked the wrong sugar to bite.
Two minutes.
2 minutes. Means my next flip's got to be a big one. We're on them, boys. I don't know if I can get my cricket fixed in 2 minutes. The downfall of braid. Well, getting one out of there wouldn't be easy, would it? Time's up.
Well, we just wrapped it up. Congratulations, Bradley. You kicked my butt. I had 2 bites today. I landed neither one of them. Both on a Strike King KVD 1.5 Chartreuse and Black. I just never got on the right program. I knew coming into this deal, if I didn't land on them in the first couple places that I stopped on, that it just wasn't going to happen for me. And right off the bat, Bradley started putting fish on, and I think that's kind of, it got him in a good swing. and I just never felt like I was around them. Like I just never felt like I got in a groove any particular place. I know I was fishing some really great water, and the potential was there. I just didn't really land on them exactly the way I needed to. But once again, congrats, Bradley. I'll get you at the next one. Next time, though, we're going to a lake that I want to go to, like a Toledo Bend, Sam Rayburn, one of these big bass factories. I'm calling you out right now. Let's get it done, and I'm ready to go to the house, though.
You know, like I said when I started, this is probably the lake that I have the most familiarity with of any lake in my life. So I've spent a lot of time up here. Upshaw's from Oklahoma, Broken Arrow, but he's truly not from Oklahoma. He's a Sam Rayburn guy. I met Upshaw when he was in college, and he was a young man. And I'm sure that if we were to do this again, we go to Rayburn, it would be a totally different outcome. He's definitely spent a lot of time down there, and I didn't know I was going to run into this. This was a complete shock. You know, like I said, I started the day go bump secondary and Main Lake points and pockets, you know, coming out of points leading out of spawning coves. And I just thought I wanted to try it, and I came back here and I got a couple of, you know, I caught that little one, and it just kind of kept me going. And then of course when I caught the big one, it was kind of a no-brainer for me to keep trying in here. And then I got a few more bites, and then there just wasn't any point in leaving. The second half wasn't as productive as the first, but you know, it was a good day all in all, and I'm real happy with how it turned out. I really enjoyed doing this. Caught all my fish on a half-ounce spinnerbait, same rig setup that I used before. This is actually my Chinese reel. You boys want a Chinese reel? I would ask me what brand I throw. I don't ever know. It's got Chinese writing on them. I get them for $30 on eBay. But my rods are not Falcon Amistad. Same rod I throw for a lot of things. I throw the Amistad and the Expert and the Lowrider for, I would say, probably 75% of the baits that I throw. It's kind of my all-around deal. And then my flipping stick, same thing. Here was a 7.3 Amistad with 80-pound FX2 braid sunline with that 5/0 Hayabusa FPP hook. So it you know, it's a setup that I use traveling around the country. It's not something I use here in the Ozark region much, but Ozark region, we're not usually flipping stuff that looks like this. So just kept an open mind and went fishing and got fortunate and got a couple of good bites. That's really what today came down to. So really enjoyed it, Mark, and appreciate everything you guys have done for me this year and in the past. We've been friends for a long time, and really enjoyed being a part of it.